Hi, I'm Jackie Majerus, Executive Director of Youth Journalism International, and I want to welcome everyone to this forum on the No One is Safe Global Project on Sexual Assault. 21 Youth Journalism International students reported, wrote, and illustrated this project in 2021. I'm so proud of them. 18 of them are here today to talk to you about their experiences. I'm going to give each of them a little bit of time to share with you what they thought about the project or why they got involved or what they took away from it. It's going to be up to them what they share. And after that, we'll have a chance to take some questions. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat. And I am so grateful to see so many friends here watching, students, alumni of Youth Journalism International, and some of our very best friends are here on this call. So thank you for being here. And the first one who's going to speak to you, and the students, please make sure that you give your name and your age and where you live, including the country. And the first one up is Sarah Gondluri. So take it away, Sarah.
Yeah. Hi, so I'm Sarah Gabriel. I'm 15 years old and I live in the United States in Clarksburg, Maryland. I joined this project as a relatively new member of YJI, and I think it has taught me so much, not just about journalism, but how you can approach it in a more humane way, how you can connect with the people you're talking to. For the course of the project, I interviewed 4 survivors, and 3 of those survivor stories are included with the project. And I also worked with Frida, my good friends now, and how to work on the main stories. All out of the project, 4 of those I got to work on, and the survivor stories were one of the most I've worked on since I've started YJI. I got to talk to people from many different walks of life. I got to see how experience the world. And as heartbreaking as those stories were, they were stories of hope and stories of overcoming serious and horrible difficulties. And I think there's something everyone can learn by talking to people and learning their stories and listening. And being a part of this project has taught me that journalism is so much more than just finding stories that are interesting, but finding stories that are meaningful, not just to you, but to the people around you, and exploring the stories of the community, because there's so much we don't know. And by just having a conversation, we can open up a lot of boundaries and discuss issues that we probably wouldn't feel comfortable talking about otherwise. So I learned so much by being a part of this project, and I got to work on it. And the survivor stories were maybe one of the most important things I've worked on in my academic career, my writing career. So yeah, I really enjoyed being a part of it.
Emily, you are next.
That's me, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and I should say thank you, Sarah. Thank you.
So I'm 20 and I'm from the UK and I'm based in Bristol. And I've been a part of YJI since I was 17. But this is the first time I was part of like a project this big. And it was really incredible to see how many students kind of got involved and like the support we had from other students in YJI. Like it was incredible to see how many people are here today as well, which is so exciting. So the reason I decided to do the project is because more of a personal reason. So the person I interviewed is actually a very close friend of mine. And I knew she'd had experience with something like this, and she had expressed to me that she would want to maybe do an interview about it one day. So I wanted to kind of share her story, especially because she's someone who struggles quite a lot with her mental health. And I think there's a lot of misconception about people who suffer from mental health issues and also assaulted. I think there's a lot of like victim blaming, and I wanted to kind of express that despite kind of her mental health issues, that she's still a victim and you shouldn't blame her. And my article took a different approach. So I kind of wanted my friend's personality to come across in the article. So me and Jackie kind of spoke a lot about it. We were kind of trying to decide whether the article was too comedic or if it kind of came across well. And I think we were able to kind of sort that out. And then I also did photography for it, which was very exciting. So yeah.
Thank you, Emily. It's really Nora's turn next, or Purnima, but I don't think either of them are here right now. Oh, but there's Nora. I couldn't find you, Nora. Okay, sorry. Okay, there you are.
All righty. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here today. My name is Norah Springborn. I am 17 and I am from Pekin, Illinois in the USA. Part of the reason why I joined this project was because I wasn't sure if I exactly belonged in it at first. I didn't have too much knowledge or experience of this idea and of sexual assault, but one of my friends recently spoke out to me about her experience with that sexual assault. And I kind of took it as the perfect timing because while this YJI project was going on, my friend also talked about it to me and I'm like, okay, this could work. We could write an article about this. So this project quickly turned personal to me as one of my friends who was the same age as me and that I went to school with, she has experience with this. And I spoke to her, and one of the most coolest and humbling things that happened to me was while she was speaking to me, I just witnessed her going through so much of that experience and just what happened to her, but only through the lens of telling it and also letting it go. And I think that it was just such an inspiring experience to see her let go of something so impactful and so much that has driven her life, like in front of my eyes while I wrote about this article. And I wanted to, this article was unique to me because I felt like I was in it because of my own friends. So also I spoke to Jackie about how it's different from a normal journalism article, but yet it's also so unique because I knew this person and because it was a different thing that we all went through. And I'm just so grateful to have kept that friendship with my friend while she let go of something in her life while putting it out there. And also something else cool that happened was my friend, she was an artist. And on my article online, I asked her to draw some things for it and to take some photos. And I think she also put her own unique touch on this story and on her own story and her own life that it quickly became hers too, as well as mine. And because of this project, it taught me that we all can be so unified by such a substantial issue all around the world. This article is by far one of the most important things that I've ever written. And I'm just so inspired, along with all my colleagues, to see our abilities to take something so unheard of and so unspoken about and just make something so unique and just so universal out of it. And I'm so incredibly grateful and proud of us all. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Nora. Nalu is asking if she can go next. I'm going to put her in after this next person because she sometimes has trouble with the internet. So after Nora is Amy. And thank you. We're going to show some of the pictures that and illustrations that people came up with, including the ones that Nora, I think she talked a little bit about those, where the survivor, you mentioned that, right? That the survivor had drawn something. I'm trying to get people lined up here. So Amy, you're next, and then we're gonna pop over to Nalu. So thank you, Nora.
Hi, my name's Amy. I'm half British, half Danish. So I grew up in like South London, but I live in Denmark at the moment, just outside of Copenhagen. So I decided to join the project because I feel like everyone has a story, either of their own experiences with sexual assault or because they know someone who has been impacted by this issue. I think there are very few degrees of separation for a lot of people in regards to this issue. But I wanted to know more about it in Denmark because I'm not fully Danish. I haven't lived here my whole life. And whilst the view of Denmark is of this very progressive country with, you know, the left wing in the UK is constantly talking about Danish politics as a model for theirs, right? But actually the laws around sexual assault and particularly rape in Denmark were actually really behind most of Europe, did not acknowledge consent as an actual thing. And it really fascinated me and kind of scared me, actually, the power structures that are at play between how impactful the law is, how do we speak to victims or survivors of sexual assault, how many times do they have to recant their experiences. And I spoke to activists, I spoke to academics, and I spoke to survivors as well. And it's been very interesting to not only hear their experiences and their understandings of the law and how this law comes from deep misogynistic roots of women being property of men and rape being a criminal act against a man because the woman is his property, and those laws were basically unreviewed for years and years in Denmark and only just changed last year. So it was very interesting for me to learn about that, both from the academic side but also for the human impact. And personally, doing this project, I was surprised about how impacted I was hearing survivor stories. I really thought that I was emotionally prepared. Like, I used to be a youth worker, I've dealt with these issues before. I really thought I wouldn't have an issue interviewing someone for this, but it was really hard hearing how the system has failed so many people, and hearing their entire story was really impactful. And then hearing the actual responses of people close to me of what they thought constituted sexual assault or rape and what they thought about false accusation surprised me, and it sometimes was scary, but it was important to get that dialogue running. And the thing I learned just with speaking to everyone involved in this issue was just is talking, and that's why this project is so important. Talking is the only real thing that all of us have to fight this. Not all of us can change a law, but we can all change the minds of the people around us about this. And that's why I think it's so impactful that we have such a diverse group of young journalists on this, so that we can all make an impact, not just internationally with this project, but in our own communities, and open up those dialogues with the people that we care about. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Amy. So we're gonna jump ahead to Nalu because she's got the iffiest internet, but we may be a contender today in our blizzard. But go right ahead, Nalu.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Nalu, and I'm from Nigeria. I'm a student of the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, in Eastern Nigeria, and I'm 20 years old. So yes, I participated in the sexual assault project. So when Jackie brought it up, I was like, okay, it would be great to be part of this alongside other students. It's more like the world view of sexual assault. So why not I contribute to what probably my Nigeria feels or views sexual assault as. So that was it. I had issues trying to get some of the survivors to tell me their experiences, and also I resorted to talking to a social worker who actually talked about it really deeply, and how Nigerians actually perceive the whole sexual assault thing. I mean, it pains me too, but I've come to realize certain things about the whole thing. And it's also exciting reading about this sexual assault thing from should I say 5 continents, from Africa, from South America, I think, North America, and other parts of the world. For me, it was something really should I say encouraging. For example, in Nigeria, we chide and lambast a girl for what she is wearing, and we tend to make it look like she is the one that attracts rapists to herself. I mean, sometimes when you are a victim of rape, the first question you're asked is, what were you wearing? Where were you at? They feel like the women, some of them feel like the women are the perpetrators. We're the ones that call rapists to come to us. So working in this project was more like me pouring out my heart. Let's everyone rip this and see how it is over here. So I'm really excited I was part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nalu. I'm glad to hear from you. And next up is Chu Ying.
Hi, my name is Chu Ying. I am 15 years old and I live in Ontario, Canada. I decided to join the Sexual Assault Project because I think it's an issue that's not talked about enough, and it's a taboo topic in many parts of the world. The justice system, at least in Canada and I know the United States, is innocent until proven guilty, so it's up to survivors to prove their innocence and to prove that they're not lying for justice. And it's really hard for survivors a lot of the time because it's their word against someone else's. And especially in situations where there's like an unequal power dynamic, it's just really hard for survivors to have people listen to their stories. And there's a lot of victim blaming and different officers who accuse survivors of provoking others. And I interviewed a male survivor who became a therapist after he was sexually assaulted in his childhood. And I think there's a huge stigma that men and young boys can't be sexually assaulted and they're not affected. But I would say children, when in terms of children and young boys, they can almost be equally affected because sexual predators just prey on people who are vulnerable. And there's a lot of young boys who also have that experience, but they're afraid to speak out because there's such a stigma in society. So I think this was such an important project because the stories that we hear are celebrities and the people oftentimes who get justice, but there's so many people who don't have justice at the end. And I think this project gave them a chance to share their voice and share their story. Thank you.
Thanks, Chu Ying. Excellent. So next up, we've got Lena coming to us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nina Köksal from Istanbul, Turkey. I'm 16 years old. So I joined this project because I thought it's a topic worth speaking up for. And like in Turkey, the attackers don't get the punishment they deserve. So I thought talking about it is the first step of finding a solution to it. So I wrote two pieces, one being a commentary, the other one an interview. I interviewed a victim who was many times assaulted at public transportation. And while talking to her, the thing which most affected me was that she thought it was such a casual thing to happen to a woman in Turkey, and she didn't mind talking about it or anything. So that was really eye-opening for me, actually. And while finishing, she said this quote, "Do not expect kindness." And I realized that, yes, as women, we can't expect kindness. So I was really glad to be a part of this project and talk about it with lots of teenagers all around the globe. And thank you, Jackie, for letting me join and being a part of this.
I have to say, you did fantastic work. I think it's the best you've done yet. Really good. Don't miss Lena's work. Next up, I believe the next one we have is Manar.
Hi everyone, my name is Manar. I'm 18 years old. I'm from Fez, Morocco, and I've been part of YJI since I believe April 2020. So this sexual assault, I've worked on like a teamwork before with YJI. It was COVID-19, also about the US voting. This was one of the most interesting projects that I did. One of the things that propelled me honestly the most to be part of this project is that because there were no Moroccan reporters in YJI, so I was the only one. So it's like I had this responsibility to kind of like talk about the experiences of Moroccans who have experienced sexual assault. So I interviewed 3 people. I tried to kind of like represent voices of people from different socioeconomic and sexual orientations, socioeconomic backgrounds and sexual orientations. So I interviewed a dentist who unfortunately got sexually assaulted by her own friend. And then I had an interview with a gay boy. He was 17, about 18 at the time. He got sexually assaulted at his school. And the boy who was sexually assaulted him kind of like paved his way out because he was well off and he donated a lot of money to the school. So they kind of like ignored the boy who got sexually assaulted. And the third person that I interviewed, she was 15. She used to work at a factory. She got sexually assaulted by her own boss and she couldn't see anything, unfortunately, because she needed the money, she needed a job. That kind of like stopped her to speak up. So I got to know those people through being a part of this organization. It was called Moroccan Outlaws. This organization aims to help people who got sexually assaulted in Morocco to speak up and share about their experiences. So kind of like they were the ones that allowed me to talk and speak with these people. I'm so glad and humbled that I had a chance to talk with these people and kind of like give voice to the voiceless, write an article about them to an international audience. So I'm very, very glad that I was part of this project. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to my story.
Thank you very much. Anna, it's your turn.
Hi, I'm Ana Fadul and I'm from Bogota, Colombia. When I entered the project, I was not really sure if I could really help improve it.
Hey, Anna, how old are you?
I'm 60.
Go ahead.
Mostly because I wasn't really sure if there could be anything that I could put into it. But after some reflection and just passing over the fear, it became really important to me to really show like the Colombian perspective because I, like Moana, I'm the only one from Colombia, and also the Latin American perspective that we did some articles with Regina that's also here and it's an incredible person. I interviewed some girls here in Colombia and their opinion about the topic and also how women are treated differently to men and how they try to deal with that and the repercussions. Then an advocate that works here trying to prevent sexual assault in universities who talked about how the system really makes the victims try to talk with the perpetrators and how it was terrible to them, just making them have to see everything that happened all over again. And finally, I interviewed a child psychologist that worked especially in child sexual assault and tried to help kids move on and live with their lives. And this is really a project that's so impactful because it shares their stories of people all around the world. Well, also most importantly, because this is the type of topic that people like to ignore, because it's so devastating hearing about it that people are really scared of even mentioning it. And it's easier to just ignore it's happening. But no matter how much we'd like to pretend it isn't really happening, the reality is that it's occurring all over the world at all times. So it's really important to acknowledge that it's happening and to help prevent it while trying to seek justice for the people who have to suffer. I'm done.
Hi, I'm Bilge from Istanbul, Turkey. And I am, first of all, thank you all for being here. Everyone here, we were like all nervous and sort of just everyone asking each other if this was gonna be okay, and you showing up and being able to share our work is really so very precious to all of us. And I joined this project because, well, the first time Jackie mentioned it at the beginning of summer, it was a momentary decision. I said, I have to be a part of this. And well, for one, it is a personal matter. And we have, as you know, if you look like a woman anywhere in the world, but especially in Turkey, you will get targeted by these sorts of things. And my contribution to this project was some articles, but also some photos where I took those photos while just living my day-to-day life. And they were used in Lina's story that she wrote about a survivor who got assaulted on public transport, for example. It was a picture I literally just took while taking the bus of a creepy old man who happened to be staring at me, because these things do happen, and it was broad daylight, and it was, you know, nothing bad, and usually you stare at them and they go away, but this one didn't. And I did not get into danger, and I survived, and it wasn't that traumatic. But then it's not normal to say it's not that traumatic, because it is a trauma that we experience all over the world, all over every day, you know. And I think this team of young journalists, I'm really, really proud of everyone, and the like younger ones of the generation. I'm 18 years old right now, and I'm not that old, but I was part of a COVID project that we did in YJI last year. So I did get, you know, seasoned by Jackie and YJI and all the experience. And, you know, I just want to say all of you did a very, very good job. And I think that this project, in all its reach around the world and the way that it has impacted a lot of victims of sexual assault, as well as, you know, us as journalists, it is a very, very valuable experience.
Yes. Thank you, Biga. I wanted to call on Maddie next, and I don't know if Maddie's got a camera on. I don't know if I can spotlight you without a camera.
Yeah, it should be on now. Is it on now?
Oh, okay,
Can you hear me?
we can hear you. I'm gonna find you. Spotlight you. Okay. Apologies for this little glitch. I'm so touched that so many people are here. Thank you for being here, everyone.
His name is Maddie. He was here a minute ago.
Oh, he's here. I just got to get his picture up in front of everyone. There he is. He's on. His picture is up. I was spotlighted you. There you are.
Hello.
I don't know
Hi.
what I'm looking for, and you're not there. I'm sorry, Maddie. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So when I first heard about the project, I can't remember exactly when it was, but I kind of said yes to it, not really basis on the fact that it was about sexual assault, more just about the fact that it was everyone like working together again. Was the thing that initially drawn me into it. Was the first thing that I thought was just, if there's going to be a project where everyone's working together, it's something that I want to be a part of, because other experiences that I've had with collaborating with other people have been really special to me. So as soon as I knew that we'd all be working together on it, I knew that I wanted to be involved. And then it was only after that that I really thought about what the actual topic was. And when that was sexual assault, I wasn't quite sure whether I wanted to maybe step back or not, because I thought maybe I wasn't the right person to talk about the issue. Obviously, men can be sexually assaulted as well, and a couple of the other people on the panel have like talked about like boys and men who had been sexually assaulted. But a lot of the stories that I'd seen recently were women being victims of men, and I didn't know whether I was necessarily going to be adding to it if I weighed in with my thoughts. But I think doing the article really helped me realize what I could say about the topic and how I could use my voice. So I did my piece on toxic masculinity and ideas of masculinity in the media, in cinema and TV. And it really helped me understand what I could do as a man to stop sexual assault happening, and maybe what had been conditioned to me as a man in sort of the ways that I'm expected to act. And I looked a lot into films and how men are presented in films and TV shows. And it's very rare that you see them cry or show much emotion or compassion in any way. And the majority of the presentation of men that you see on screen is quite aggressive, and their skills are based on physical prowess and sort of stalking their objectives and getting what they want at the end of the day. While that doesn't directly inform men to sexually assault people, I don't think it helps when you've only got one very strict idea of what a man can be in media. I think it doesn't help the situation and help men realize that they can act differently. I don't think that the way men are presented in the media justifies or excuses actions in real life, but I definitely think that a way forward from the situation and maybe to make things better is just to have maybe better representation of showing men on screen being more compassionate and more caring and more thoughtful. And I think that could really, maybe not straight away, but start a change in the way that men see their role in the world and see how they should and have to behave. So yeah, overall, I really enjoyed doing the project because it just taught me so much about really what we can do to help the issue, especially myself as a man and what I can do. And it was just really exciting the whole way through, and I just love seeing everyone else's pieces all come together and how they fit in with mine, how they contrasted to mine, and just everyone's coming together was really exciting.
Thank you, Maddie. I think Regina's next. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Regina Lopez. I'm 17 years old and I live in Mexico City. And just as Sarah, I joined the project as a very new member. And it was a no-brainer because this is an issue that I have so many opinions and thoughts and fears about. And sometimes you feel like there's absolutely nothing you can do. But I gotta say that while I was writing these articles and after I finished them, I felt great and I felt better because it was like I was standing up to the enemy face to face and I wasn't helpless. And also, I got to learn so much. For example, I interviewed this human rights lawyer who told me has taken cases of these sorts. And she taught me a lot about her job, about how she talks to the victims, or what is the process to bring justice to these women. And I also did some articles with my friend Anna about what young women in Latin America, well, Mexico and Colombia, have to say about topics like insecurity and machismo. Machismo is the feeling that men are superior to women and is sometimes very prominent in our culture. And I think by hearing about these topics and, learning about them and talking about them, I think we feel less unprotected because we felt less alone. And I I think that's our job as journalists. And I say, after some of these young women that I talked to, something that I think it's sad, but it's kind of true, is that they weren't very hopeful. They think that this problem of sexual assault will take a very long time to get fixed, which probably it's correct. But I think at least we can say we try to make it better. Thank you.
Thanks, Regina. And next up is Holly.
Hi, my name's Holly and I'm a 19-year-old university student from South Wales in the UK. And I've been a member of YGI since about the time that the UK went into lockdown. So I was part of the COVID Mood project, which I really enjoyed. But this project was quite special to me because in the UK, especially, the COVID-19 lockdowns kind of exacerbated instance of sexual assault, sexual abuse, harassment, the death of Sarah Everard being an example which jumps to mind. And it kind of became clear that young women in the UK didn't really feel safe walking by themselves outside. So I was kind of motivated to join the project because I wanted to deeper understand the impacts of sexual assault and explore the issue on a more global scale because I knew what it was doing in the UK, but I wasn't quite sure about other parts of the world. So by joining this project, I was able to take courage from my peers, the people who bravely shared their stories, and the organisations and the professionals that I interviewed. So not only did the project increase my understanding of sexual assault on a global scale, it also ignited my passion for campaigning against the issue. And it taught me how to approach such topics in a sensitive light and how to kind of discuss things like this. And notably, I worked on a story with Emily, Matty and Daisy about sexual assault in the UK, schools in the UK. And that kind of brought it home to me, because all four of us had a connection to a school that had accusations of sexual assault. So it kind of just brought home the issue and made us realize that it's close to home and that we can't just sit back and say nothing. We kind of have to speak out. And if we have a voice, we have to use it. So it was a real privilege to work alongside all of my YJI peers. Every story has taught me something, and every story has motivated me to carry on writing. And I thank everybody.
Thank you, Holly. Next up is Vicky.
Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria Goldmanneva. I'm 18 years old and I'm from the Czech Republic. When Jackie first brought up the idea of this project, it was actually quite a perfect timing for me, because in the Czech Republic at the time, a case kind of opened up about a few women coming up anonymously and opening up stories of being sexually assaulted by a very well-liked politician, and a popular politician, especially liked by the younger people because of his own social media presence. And I'm used to Czech Republic being very old-fashioned, and the older people really not being open to new ideas. But I was horrified by seeing how much victim blaming and how just uncaring people were, how they were responding to this issue. And I found myself getting into debates online with my friends, my family, and I always felt so helpless defending these women. And then I realized how helpless they have to feel, and all the victims of sexual assault must feel. And I knew I had to write about it, and I knew I had to be part of this project. So it was just, I am in awe of all the people here. I am so grateful to be a part of this project, because seeing all these wonderful people at work, seeing how caring and kind, motivated and talented they are, it really inspired me. And I think this is such an important story and a project, and I'm so thankful for you all being here. Thank you for listening, because I think we need to listen more and write and talk about this more. So thank you.
Thanks, Vicky. Next, we're gonna hear from Annalena.
Yes, hi, I'm Annalena from Germany, and I'm 17 years old. And I also joined the project because I was interested in doing a project like this. I joined YJI too late to be part of the COVID Mood project. But of course, another reason for me to join was raising awareness for this issue, because it's a global issue, of course, that I've always kind of known about, but I wasn't very educated about it, and I was also interested in learning more about it. I also had a rather limited perspective on it, and I am aware that I'm very privileged. So I find it very interesting to have worked with these other people now, to have read all these stories from all these different countries, because we all have like very different experiences with it and have a lot of different things to say. And I do think that it's very important to raise awareness on it and to talk about it, because this is such a taboo topic. And I do think that the project turned out very well, and I'm very proud to have been a part of it. And I found this very interesting and also touching. And I'm just very proud of all the articles and also the artwork and photography that has been part of this.
Thank you, Annalena. I believe Frida is next.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today. Frida, I'm 21 years old and part of YJ 7 years, I believe. It's been 7 years, yeah. Project probably later than everyone else, and I need Sarah for writing the overall story to give a review of what this project was about, what it aimed to raise awareness about. And I initially planned to read all of the stories in one sitting, but I couldn't because they were so intense and so brilliant that I was literally amazed, and I just taken all of. So I had to prepare with patience, and really impressed by the quality of work and the professionalism my peers had in dealing with such a sensitive issue. And I think we did really great, Sarah, Jackie's guidance, of course. And I'm incredibly proud of the work that I think and awareness for giving a voice to people and things that are unheard. So that's all I've got to say for now.
Thanks, Frida. Okay, next up is Barack.
Hi guys. So I'm Burak and I live in Istanbul, Turkey. When Jackie first mentioned this opportunity, I was actually really excited because I hadn't written anything in YJI at all. And this project was gonna be the first opportunity that I had to write about something. And it excited me a lot because it's such a taboo topic to talk about, especially where I live, which is Turkey. And for something taboo to be talked about, you gotta talk about it first, which makes sense. And I just, said, well, if people are gonna be talking about it, why don't I talk about it? Why don't I talk about it too? So I wrote a piece about being seen as a threat and how, especially in Turkey, women are just oppressed. And whenever you're alone in a street and a man is there with you, next to you, or even walking in the same street as you are seen as a threat, and which is quite understandable, seeing how Turkey is such a dangerous country for women and how many cases there is yearly. Like we had I think we had over 160 women killed just because of sexual assault. And I also took some pictures with Bige going around Istanbul, and we tried to portray how dangerous it feels, how threatening it is. And we're gonna have a talk about that at the end of the presentation as well. And thank you.
And we are missing a few of our project members, but you've been hearing from almost everybody. And last but never, ever, ever least is Parnian Chasteberry. So Parnian, would you tell us about your experience and yourself?
Hi, I'm Parnian, and I'm from Iran, and I live in Tehran, and I'm 19. I really wasn't a big part of the project, and I mostly did the illustrations, and I was when I was doing the drawings, I was thinking more about the other side of the story, the readers, because I know, especially in my country, there are many people that won't talk or won't mention or like share their experience as a victim of assault with anybody else, and they're just uncomfortable, and it's just a cultural thing. I really don't know, and I thought that maybe just even having or seeing a drawing for an article would attract them to check out something, and they might find something in common with the story. So I really was thinking about to like help a victim who's not sharing it with anyone else. And that's it. Thank you.
Well, let's show some of those illustrations now and talk a little bit about some of these other things. I'm going to share Parnian's work. that was one of the pieces that she drew. Do you want to talk about this for a minute, Parnian?
Yeah, sure. Well, the story, I can't remember which one of my YJ fellows wrote it.
This was
wrote it, sorry. But it
Sarah's
was,
story, right? Sarah, it was yours? Yep.
and it was about a lady who was a victim, and she decided to forgive and to just like move on of the accident that she had. Not an accident, sorry, she was a victim. And I felt like that moment that she chose to like live, like change the way she was living was really important for her. And I just wanted to mention that dark side to like go away.
And Parnian did another illustration. You want to talk about this just a little bit?
Yes, so I really don't know who wrote it.
This was written by a YJI alum named Harsha Mishra, and she is a native of India. She's living in the US and she's in graduate school now, and she was so moved by all of what you guys did in the very first installment that she decided to add her own words to it, and they were so powerful that we made it an epilogue. And I asked Parnian if she could illustrate. It's a story about how when she was a little girl in primary school, and she was sick in school and was sent to the school doctor, and talked about the horrible thing that happened to her with the school doctor. So Parnian, that's the background. So tell us about this drawing.
Well, there was a sentence in the drawing that, no, I don't know, I can't quote it, but it was like, well, she was 100% innocent. She was sick. She went to doctor to ask help, and the way that she described him, he was like a middle-aged guy that seemed pretty normal, but and then she was like I didn't know what was behind that mask, behind that face. And I really like thought in that moment, I just like had something like this in my mind and I drew it. Thank you all for your compliments. I'm seeing them. I can't chive. I love you guys.
Regina, Regina and Anna work together collaboratively, even though Mexico and Colombia are such different countries. But Regina came up with this image. Can you talk a little bit about this image, Regina?
Yes. Well, this is it for the article of machismo. And like I said, machismo is a feeling that women are inferior to men. And that's the essential message of this picture, because she's just in the machismo feeling, she's just that little, and she's just in his fingers pressing her. And I asked the model of the woman to just kind of look down, because it's something that sometimes women here accepted. And something that I also want to say is that it can happen everywhere in the most normal or familiar scenarios.
Do you want to tell us about this picture that you took?
Yes. Well, I love movies, and sometimes in horror movies, when there's a movie about the assassin or a violent family or a toxic relationship, you just don't want the bad guy, the monster, to touch the protagonist, even if it's not hurting her or the protagonist. You just don't want to touch them, because it's kind of you feel afraid, or you feel that your throat is closing. And that's what I wanted to do with this picture. And I asked the model of the man to just kind of press his fingers against the woman's neck, so it could be more defined that you know that something, it's not okay, like this is not kind of a normal touch. And also I asked the women's model to can kind of not look afraid, but like if she couldn't say anything. And something that it's something about the models is that the man is considerably taller than the women. So kind of visually it's it can explain that of inferiorness. And I wanted to do it on first frame because I didn't want anything to be distract the audience or the viewer and just see what is happening.
I think it's pretty riveting photo. So moving over to Norah, can you tell us about this illustration?
So as mentioned, this was the picture that I asked my friend if she would be willing to draw something for my article, and I knew she's very talented in art, and I knew that art is her form of escape. So I thought this would be a perfect opportunity for her to put out her artwork along with her story, and this photo summarized her experience perfectly.
And then can you tell us about this picture that you took to go with the story you wrote about her?
Yeah, so this photo, it was kind of spur of the moment when I interviewed her. I noticed that she was wearing white Converse shoes, and I knew that she loved them before any of this story and this idea came about. But then when I interviewed her, she showed up wearing these white shoes, and I'm like, okay, let's see what we can do with this. So I really drew about this idea in my article, how this white shoe and how her innocence and her purity before and after her experience with sexual assault was really captivated by her shoes and her ability to keep moving on in life given this experience, given what comes next. And we put together this photo, and the yellow flower also just symbolizes the beauty of each individual person and their ability to just keep moving forward no matter what life gives you.
Chu Ying made several different illustrations, collaborations for other people's work and for her own. Do you want to talk a little bit about working with other people in the project, Chu Ying?
Yeah, so collaborating with fellow students was definitely one of the best parts of the project because we could all like take our unique experiences and then also like our different characteristics as journalists and collaborate to create something. And I do a lot of like digital illustrations, so using Canva, and I believe this one was for Holly's and it was about advocacy. So this is just like symbolizing like advocacy and unity among women.
And then you made this one for your own story about
this was the survivor, and he said that so he's a therapist, and because he dealt with a lot of trauma from sexual assault, he also helps other victims, and he says a lot of them are hijacked by the past and they feel trapped and like they feel a lot of conflicting emotions and guilt. So this is kind of the illustration to represent that with the glass. That's kind of like it feels like he said that it felt like he was kind of broken. So this is what it showed.
Maddie, can you talk about this one? I'm not sure if Maddie's still here. Maddie wrote about toxic masculinity and how it traps boys and men into a kind of a box. And I think that he may have had to leave, so he might not be here right now. Let's Emily, are you here? Is Emily Fromont here? Let's Emily did some pretty creative artwork. Can you talk about this one?
Yeah, so this is my friend who I interviewed, but I didn't want to, she was anonymous for the article, so obviously I had to find a way to present parts of her without like being able to identify her. So I looked up kind of imagery and articles of what other people had done, and I can't remember the article name, but I found this woman who'd done an article about her own sexual assault, and she'd done all these like pictures of fragments of herself. And that's kind of one of the things my friends were saying was that after what happened to her, she felt like really broken, and no one was really helping her kind of put herself back together. So I just wanted to demonstrate yeah, that kind of fragmented self and like how she felt broken after what happened, but that, you know, those pieces can still go back together again after, you know, something like that. Like, you're not broken forever. Yeah.
And then you also did this illustration.
Yeah, so it's that one makes me laugh because it's just me as a kid. But yeah, so it's me and my twin brother. We both went to one of the two of the high schools on the list that came out. So obviously that was quite surprising. Both of my high schools have been impacted by sexual assault. So in the background, you can see a list of like a couple of the schools. I think my one might be on there somewhere. And then I just wanted to show, me and Jackie were talking about what we wanted to do with the picture, and Jackie was saying that she wanted to use like young pictures of us, because obviously some of the schools on the list are actually like infant schools and junior schools, so these kids would have been like 11, below 11. So we wanted to show that it was obviously happening to like children as well as adults.
And then you had one more illustration, which I thought was very eerily similar to this one that the victim drew, that Nora's survivor friend drew. And you didn't see her drawing before you came up with this one.
No, yeah. So I just wanted to demonstrate kind of how terrifying something like that is to a child, and kind of imagine how a kid would kind of make sense of it, I suppose. So it was really surprising to see that Nora's friend also.
I wanted to talk real quickly about what the pictures were from Turkey, and then we've got a bunch of questions that people are asking, and I want to make sure we get to as many of those as we can. Biga and Barak together took this one. Do you guys want to talk about this for a minute?
Yeah, this was actually a casual stroll we had in our like where our homes are close to, and we just wanted to capture how alone it feels actually. You know, it's coming right at dark and you have to get home, and if you don't get home, you're in danger. And this, and surprisingly, to my surprise and to biggest surprise, this became you know, the the project's main picture, I guess. Not the main picture, but like a big
The
picture
cover
in the,
picture, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
the cover picture of the project. And yeah, that's about it
Thank
for
you.
me. Yeah.
And Biga, you took this.
Yeah, I actually, that was a picture I took long before this project idea even existed. I found these like torn up pieces of pictures by a trash can once I was, while I was just sort of walking past one. And I thought it looked really, you know, it captured a lot of the essence of what a relationship, a breakup, everything it could be. And the placement and the lighting just, uh, it kind of, the guy's eyes looking at the girl who's like, that placement kind of felt very dangerous in a way, the energy that it captivated. So I think this one, even though it was, you know, not aimed to serve this project or this idea, it really can show how casual relationships, even in, you know, from the people you wouldn't expect it, there is always a chance. And that is why we call the project No One is Safe, because truly, you know, you look at someone and you don't know if they could be, you know, suffering from something, or they could be inflicting that suffering, and you never can truly know because it is not talked about.
And what about this one?
This one was really just very interesting, because I was just taking the subway and I noticed this very interesting lineup of, you know, 2 women, 3 men, where this one guy was really man spreading it all, you know, having his time. And there are even, you know, little stickers on the subway to say like, sit tightly. It doesn't say sit politely. It doesn't say don't manspread because you can't really say that in Turkish, but it just says like don't bother other people. But this was very interesting because you just the old man, you know, we'll give him that. He's doing his piece. He's just sort of sitting there. But the other two guys, they're really not caring at all, and you can see from the stance of, you know, it's just so obvious. Every time you get on public transport and anything, you just kind of have to make yourself smaller so that the guy next to you doesn't spread his legs, and you know, it doesn't make you feel squished. Taking yeah, I kind of just took this one discreetly, and it's not easy you see this happening a lot, but I was just in a moment where I could take it very quickly and then just leave it. And I don't think people noticed, but if they did, they would probably feel uncomfortable. As for the perpetrators, that is a tactic. Yeah, this guy. This is a tactic that I actually was using. I didn't start taking the picture for the project only. He was just kind of staring at me, and I was like, what if like I take a picture of him, like very obviously it will make him uncomfortable and he'll stop. He did not stop. Normally they do. Like normally you stare back at them and you know they usually stop staring, but this one was particularly insistent on his predatory behavior, because you know there's always the creepy old man and that does say something anyway, but I actually got off before I reached my home just to be safe.
So there were some earlier questions that I want to get to. I'm sorry for interrupting you, Biga. Just if you find it, Steve, you can. Okay. The question is.
Sure. So this question was two questions. Did some people try to discourage you from writing? And will your articles appear in other publications in your countries?
The question is, did anyone try to discourage you from doing this project? And will your articles appear in any publications in other countries? And I've only got some, I can only spotlight 9 of you at a time. So if you want to say something, any of you project team members, go ahead. Did anyone feel like they were pressured or discouraged from doing this project from anyone? Vicky?
Well, definitely my family. It's kind of a little bit of a secret what I'm doing here today, and that I wrote about sexual assault because when I told my family that this is the topic, I write about how in Czech Republic this is not spoken about at all. So they felt like I was doing something very, very inappropriate and I should not be doing it. Later, my mom became a little bit supportive when she saw some of my illustrations, especially the Medusa one that I did for Annalina's story. But yeah, I was discouraged because here it is seen as just a disgrace and a thing that isn't talked about. And if you do, people will look down on you. So
sorry, yeah. I meant to show these, Vicky. Here's your Medusa picture. Can you just talk about that for a minute?
Well, I did this for Annalina's story about the Istanbul Convention, which is a convention that kind of created laws that were supposed to protect women from sexual assault. And the countries that signed this contract in a lot of colors, like an explosion, that there was a bright future, but the ones that still haven't signed it, I did in gray because that's how it feels to me, that like by refusing to sign it, we're staying in the dark ages. And the most important part for me about this drawing is the Medusa crying over it, because especially in the Roman adaptation of Medusa's story, she is kind of a symbol for survivors of sexual assault. And to me, it just her story just feels very powerful. And from my research, many survivors relate and kind of even tattoo her face to keep the strength. And so I did her crying over how many countries were gray and how many countries haven't moved forward.
And I again, I apologize, Vicky, because I meant to show these pictures before and I just didn't.
It's fine. It's fine.
This is your other one. Do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I did this for my own story that I did about Czech Republic and about the women that came that like talked about being assaulted by the politician, but generally about women and people who were assaulted in the Czech Republic. I did a Screaming Women in the Back because the pressure of the society to not talk about this is kind of just like keeping us down, but all you want to do is scream. But in front of her, there is it's sort of supposed to be a mask of a very composed and almost numb lady. And I did her hairstyle in like the 18th century, 17th century style and her whole appearance to kind of show how stuck in the past this sort of attitude towards sexual assault is. Yeah.
Holly wanted to say something. Thank you, Vicky.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to say that I think I wasn't personally discouraged from writing about this topic, but I think that question kind of shows what we were trying to achieve. The topic is so taboo and large and like complicated that at times I often felt like I wasn't qualified or mature enough to report on such an issue. But I think at times probably most of the people in this project felt a bit like they weren't sure what they were doing or if they were doing the topic justice. But we're all young people and we all just wanted to share what was happening for our generation and in our areas. And I think that we were really courageous and brave in just reporting on what we saw and what we found. And no matter if we felt discouraged or like we weren't qualified enough to report on this topic, Jackie kept pushing us to just share what we wanted to share, and we all had a voice and we all had the opportunity to kind of bring our own country or our own area into the limelight, and I think that was really important. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anyone else want to answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, as one of the people writing about it, I didn't feel particularly discouraged, but I know from a lot of the people I interviewed that speaking out about it was difficult, and they were discouraged from presenting their stories, especially to a place where their names would be shared, where their stories would be open to the public. One of the women I talked to was born in Somalia. Her family was an immigrant family, and I think a lot of places where sexual assault isn't talked about and it's not discussed, coming out as a victim is especially difficult. Survivor is equally as difficult as writing about it as a journalist. And I think that's one of the biggest barriers we have as a society is to mitigate that stigma so that people can talk about their experiences. So I think that was one of the most eye-opening things about the project, how reluctant people were to talk about their experiences because it's so stigmatized by a lot of societies, a lot of communities.
As far as publishing in other countries, YJI is a globally accessible media site. So hopefully people from all over the world will be seeing it. I do know that we have readers from everywhere. If any of the students had a place where they wanted to share their stories or the whole project, we would certainly be open to working with that new site for sharing the work. Did anybody else want to answer that question? Oh, Biga, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to sort of take on Sarah's point about people who were survivors of this kind of thing not wanting to talk about it, I actually approached a friend of mine who was a survivor to talk to her if she was interested, and she actually said yes at first, and we were about to do a Zoom meeting, and like just about 1 hour or before, she canceled. And of course I was like, it's okay, if you're not ready to talk about it. But and the fact that like she felt apologetic to me for canceling it, it made me really sort of see how messed up the situation is, because it is something that she could share with the world at her own discretion, but she shouldn't have to be the one to try and raise awareness of something that she's suffered of, and it's not her responsibility. And the fact that like she felt apologetic to me really made me feel kind of bad, because I was like, no, it's really not on you as a survivor to feel this way. It really should be on the authorities and all the people in charge to make sure that this doesn't happen. And when it does happen, there's support systems, but the fact is there isn't.
Okay, next question. It comes from Carrie Potts. She asks, I'd love to know how this project has maybe altered your own perceptions or understanding of media's current approach to reporting on sexual violence. What deficiencies do you see, and what could they do better? Amy. First hand up, Amy.
Yeah, I think I felt like I was already extremely interested in this already. And as I said before, I used to do youth work, so I had a lot of safeguarding training in this area, but I was shocked in how blind I had felt before learning about my own country where I live. And it definitely made me feel more unsafe, actually. Denmark's known as being a very safe country. Our capital, Copenhagen, is one of the best, one of the safest cities in the world, apparently. But being #1 city for safety in the world still means it's not completely safe. And if something happens, the authorities aren't there to really support you. And that really scared me. And opening a dialogue with my friends about it, all my friends were shocked. But yeah, I think the role of the media, the more I learned, the more I read of Danish news about this topic, the more I was surprised about how it was tackled, because I'm surrounded by my own bubble of young people in Denmark who have very similar views to you guys, but there's a problem in Denmark where we have this perception as we're post-feminism, we have gender equality, but we still have issues, and this is one of the issues that's really big. And the fact that up until sort of the last few years, the Danish police weren't even counting sexual assaults in their statistics correctly. We have this tendency in Denmark, I think, just to be like, everything's fine, we're great, we pay high tax, so we've got a good welfare state, and we're lucky. But we need to push for more. And I was shocked that the Danish media hadn't pushed for more. And I was shocked that there was so much questioning of whether this was a valid thing to talk about, because we are apparently past these issues. And I was also just very shocked that this issue is focused in a very narrow lens. It's a very narrow lens of a certain type of survivor that we talk about, especially in Danish media. And I think that this project is something where I'm trying to learn, because I'm sort of continuing the research I've been doing. I just want to learn as many perspectives as possible, because I do feel like the media, especially in Denmark, a lot of Europe as well, has just failed us, because we have this very limited perspective of one type of victim that we see.
Okay, Regina, you're up.
Well, so something that I think the media gets wrong sometimes, and most of the times, is that it's just not a story because it's a story, or it's not just a business. Something that Jackie told us at the beginning of this project is that you have to take care of the victim, because the victim or the survivor has has experienced some real traumatic things, and you have to be sensible and have empathy towards them. It's a story they decided to tell you, and you have to really I'm thinking of the word, sorry. You have to be sensible towards them, and no, it's not your story you're telling, it's their story, and you have to this is a really precious thing that is just not something that you just publish.
Thank you, Regina. Holly, you had your hand up too, and Sarah did too.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think the fact that the project was really global kind of brought to light the media's failings, because so I'm in South Wales, in the UK. Yeah, I had no idea about the situation in Denmark, for example, or overseas in countries like Colombia or North America. And so I think that this project really made it accessible for everybody to learn about the situation in different countries. Yeah, I think that was the most important thing, probably, was the fact that we realized that we don't see what's happening across the world, and that's probably because our countries report on what's happening here, but we never really hear about it on a global scale. And I think maybe if the media did a better job of beginning to show what's happening on a global scale, then people would kind of take it a bit more seriously, because they would realize that it's not just in their country that it's happening. So yeah, I think that was really important in bringing it together, the fact that we had voices from all across the world. Oh, and sorry, also a quick point, the survivor stories I think were really important, because in the media in the UK, we never really see from the survivors' perspective as often. So I think being able to give a voice to those people was something that the project did really well, and it's a way it showed that the media should take take ideas from the way that we approached it, and perhaps bring to light the survivors a bit more and give them the opportunity to tell their stories if they want, because that was really powerful. And I think that's probably what made our project stand out, was the fact that we included the voices of so many people, not just ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the project was so eye-opening, because I mean, the title "No One Is Safe" is so apt for the work we did, because at least with the women I interviewed, it was like, it feels like it's never going to happen to you. You're reading it and it feels like this is a story that's applicable to someone else. You feel kind of removed from it. But when you're directly talking to a survivor, when it hits so close to home. One of the women I interviewed went to a Catholic school. She was raped in a Catholic school, and I attended a Catholic school, and one of the women was raped on a date, and she didn't even know the person. She was raped on a blind date. It was like, these things are experiences that we come so close to. We go to school every day. We go on dates with our friends. Like, this is it. We feel so removed from it until it's a situation that's right in front of us. And it's like, it was so eye-opening, because it's so fearful, for at least for me as a young woman, to know that this happens to so many people like me. It's a risk. It's a risk to go outside. It's a risk to go out with your friends. And it's like, I felt as fearful about sexual assault. I never felt scared until I really talked to the people that experienced it, until I felt like this is something that could really happen to me. It's something that happens to my friends. So I think that changed my perspective on it, because the action that we take isn't action that supports someone else. It's action that supports us. It supports people that we know. It's like, it's so important, because it's not for everybody else. It's for the people that we love, the people that we're around. So it made me feel a lot closer to the issue.
So here's a question that Nikki asks. When you were working on this project, did you have a problem with people not taking you seriously because of your age? I want to ask Lena if would you mind answering that? You interviewed an older woman about her experience, and then you wrote this powerful piece about growing up as a girl. What did you feel you were taken seriously when you interviewed that survivor?
To be honest, no. So I think she thought of it, even though I mentioned it was for a, journalism side. She thought, I think she thought of it more like a homework where, you interview your elders, I think. And I kept saying, so you didn't go to the police, you didn't do this. And she's like, no, I just kept on going. I just did this. She just didn't mind it that much. Either she didn't take me that seriously, or she didn't mind at all. I don't know which one, to be honest, but like, I'm still shocked that it was such a casual thing for her. And this didn't happen like one time. If you read my article, this happened like 3 times or something, and no one did anything until she almost started a fight at the public transportation. The driver interfered the second she tried to, start a fight when she started speaking up. So I don't think she took me that seriously, but she didn't, not care at all as well. She did care because this is a serious topic, but I don't know how she felt talking about it with a teenager.
So what about Anna and Regina? You guys are also young to middle teens ages. And you also went out and interviewed psychologists and lawyers, and did you feel taken seriously on this topic?
I'll
or
go.
any topic, really.
Mostly I think they were aware I was younger, but I didn't explicitly tell them I haven't finished high school. So I think they took me seriously mostly because it was going to be published. And I think that sharing their voices was the most important thing to them. If I came up to them and told them, okay, this is for a school project, they probably wouldn't have taken it as seriously, but because it had the aspect that it would be available for anybody, and also that it was in English, which is very different from most of the publications they would be featured, which would be in Spanish typically here. I think they really took it to heart, and it didn't really matter my age. It just mattered to them that I was going to share their message and what they were trying to tell others.
What about you, Regina?
Well, sometimes what I do when I ask for interviews is that I don't specify my age. I don't tell them what age I am. And that's what I did with this lawyer. And even when she saw me that I was under 18, I think she took me seriously because I first presented YJI, and this publication is international. It's available to everyone, and I'm glad that she saw how important this was for me and for everyone. And so I don't think that was my age was a problem in those interviews.
I saw Gilbert had his hand up. Did you have a question, Gilbert?
Oh no, I didn't have a question. I was just applauding everybody that has truly worked on this story. I've been just, in the background and just listening to how their process has been, getting the story out there for us to consume and also learn about what's happening there. And to applaud everybody that has also contributed in terms of, illustrations are really captivating, and photography. I've been out here, just in the background enjoying this. So thank you.
Does anyone else who's been listening have anything they want to ask or say? I see Aruj is here from Pakistan. Nice to see you. Nice to see Linus. We've got a lot of our old alums here and some very wonderful supporters. Anybody else? I also want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're just about at the end of our time. I hate to stop talking because I love hearing from you guys. I hope everyone's really can see a little bit about the caliber of young people that YJI is supporting, and we couldn't do it without help from the people on this call and a lot of other people too. And we'll share this recording. So people who are not here, but I know someone's great grandmother is here. Holly, do you want to help us wrap things up and tell us a little bit more about what would you like to see the impact of this project? What would you like it to be? Oh, and I had one other question. Someone was asking about when you interviewed your friends, that would be Emily and Norah. And I think Emily said she had to go. I can't remember. Maybe Norah, you could talk about that a little bit, about how did you handle things differently because it was your friend, and Sarah and Lena and Manar were interviewing strangers, which is usually how it works in journalism. You're not supposed to interview your friends, but we made some exceptions with this project because we thought it would be really hard to gain the trust of someone who was a survivor without knowing them. So how did you feel like your friendship was in jeopardy ever, Norah?
So I worried about that because I had all this trust and this friendship built up, and it was difficult because I wanted to get the story, but I also wanted to preserve my friendship while still being professional in it. And I think that that's what made this so unique, was because I was able to do both, and I still retained that friendship with my friend after it was all over.
Excellent. So Holly, what do you think? What would you like to see this? What would be the impact that you'd like to see from this project?
And thank you. Yeah, I think the main thing is just that people have seen that young people our age and people younger than myself can and do report on these topics. And obviously the impact that this has had is huge. I mean, we have lots of people here today to talk about it and listen to it. So I think going forward, the main thing should be that people don't underestimate the power of our voices and the power that young people have, not even in just writing stories, but the fact that we've all been mature enough and brave enough to talk about these topics and to put ourselves forward. And like Norah said, interviewing people that we know and things like that. It's just, we are like, our voice is more important than ever before and is just as important as the voices of anybody older than ourselves. And we are kind of paving the way for the new generation. So we need to be loud and we need to be heard. And this was a great way to do this. And I think a lot of people reading the project will be inspired to, even if it's just talk to their family or share the stories. I mean, I've shared the stories that I wrote and the project with my own family members, and I know that's kind of got some new conversations going, and it's kind of inspired me to look into the issue a bit more. And I'm sure a lot of people as well on this call who took part in the project also feel the same. It's kind of just about, we've opened the conversation and now we just get to continue it. And yeah, thank you.
Anybody else want to add anything? And I just want to say, I think we have to wrap up the official part of this presentation, but if anyone would like to stay and chat, I think that's also fine. There's some really nice people on this call, so if you want to stick around and talk, you can, but I really want to be respectful of time, and thank you everyone for being here. Sarah, watch for Sarah in Olympic fencing. She's an up and coming fencer, and I think she missed some things today, and there were some people who were giving up a lot to be here today, and it's remarkable that we still have power. We have in our blizzard here. You can't see it, but it's howling around us, and we still have power. But the big power is in all of you, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so glad that so many people got to see you and hear from you guys, because it's so much more important than hearing from me. I'm proud of all of you, and I'm so proud of you all. So thank you all for coming. If you want to keep talking, you're welcome to be here. So and everybody who's part of the project should be sure to read the chat. Make sure you didn't miss anything, because there's a lot of really nice things in there. We had a really good showing from the International Women's Club of New England today. Several of their members were here, and some good friends from Connecticut, Rosa Gotti, who's now probably not in the storm. She's probably in Florida enjoying a much nicer day. And Sam is here from Maine, and Joe is here from North Carolina. I don't know Nikki, but I'm so glad you're here. It's nice to have you. And Linus is a YJI alum, and he's in grad school in California now. And he's been a huge help to us. And Arush is a YJI alum from Lahore, Pakistan. And it's great to have her here. And we've got some of our current students here. It's wonderful to see you. Thank you for being here. Anybody want to say anything more?
I think if there's anything at all that you take from the work that we've put out today, if there's anything that you take away from all the wonderful stories, is please listen, because these stories go unheard. These stories can sit inside someone's heart for so long, and they can cause so much destruction. And the legal system in so many countries is hurting survivors, because we block ourselves from the truth that needs to be heard. So if there's anything that you do, if someone opens up to you, please listen, because that's all we can do. Please listen, please talk about it. The more we talk about it, the harder it is for us to stay silent about something. And the more noise we make, the easier it is for people to share their stories and for change to really happen. Because it's our generation that can make this change. So please listen to survivors, please listen to people talking about it, because that's the most important thing we can do. So thank you.
Thank you all.
I'd also like to say, apart from listening, I'm sure there is at least a few people on this call who would want to be on the other side where speaking up. So I would say that even though society has taught us that this is a topic that we can't talk about, and if you do talk about it, you're going to be shunned from, everything and all society around you, just know that there is people like the people on this call who will listen and who will care about you, and it will make a difference, most likely, to, as Sarah put it, it is something that you have heavy in your heart. So when you do get a chance to speak about it, to put it out into someone you trust, to share it with someone you trust, not everyone will be the way society has led us to believe. So there's a bit of hope, I suppose.
Yes. It's always good to end with some hope. Start with some hope, end with some hope. You guys fill me with hope. Well, thanks, everyone. Oh, Norah, go ahead.
I think we can all agree that at the end of the day, our articles and this whole project, it's not about us. It's about everyone else that we inspired, that we put out there, and that we made some voices heard. So going off of Sarah, I absolutely agree. Don't remain silent. Speak up, make that noise, and make a difference for many years to come. As powerful as our project is now, I'm so excited to see what it will do many years to come and how much of a difference just that one little spark that we did right now will make. So thank you, Jackie and Steve, everyone that was here, and everyone that showed up today and is willing to make a difference.
People will be reading it for a long time. People are still reading the work that that YJI students did. What was it, 20 years ago now, about suicide, teen suicide?
25 years.
25 years ago, Steve corrects me. People are still reading that. And I think survivors take comfort in it. And I like to think maybe someone would read it and think, maybe that's not a good idea. It's not the answer to every question, but it's a start, right? Anybody else have anybody have any questions? Good, Vicky, go ahead.
No, I just bouncing off Nora, I just wanted to thank you to Jackie and Steve and everyone that showed up today. Honestly, I'm very emotional because this topic is very, very sensitive for a lot of people, but also thank you for showing up and giving us your support. And just thank you to all the people I've been lucky enough to work with. You all inspire me so much, and I'm just very, very proud to call you my colleagues, if I can put it that way. So yeah, just wanted to show a bit of gratitude.
You definitely can put it that way. You're an impressive bunch. Oh, Joe would like to point out that if the early YJI stories were people, they'd be old enough to rent cars. Joe, they would be antique cars. Yeah. Someone whose power was out in Iowa has just joined us.
You can have the rest of the recording.
Sue, you've just joined us. Thank you for being here. We're kind of wrapping up, but everybody say hi to my BFF from when I was your age.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I missed you. We had a crazy power outage here, so I apologize. Hopefully I can see a recording.
Yeah. And at least you get to see their beautiful faces for a minute. We had a good discussion today. Lots of people here. Any other questions that anyone has? You can pop them in the chat, or you can just unmute yourself and ask. We have turkey in the house, 3 of them, 3 turkeys, and Wales and Illinois and Maryland and Germany, Mexico, and the Czech Republic and Colombia. And I don't know if anybody else is still here. Some people had to leave.
Iran, Frida.
Oh my gosh, Frida and Parnian's battery died, but Frida is here from Iran. So thanks everybody. Great job, guys. Thanks for being here, Joe. Thank you, Sam and Rosa, Nikki and Rouge, Mom and Dad, Collins, Linus, Val. You can sign up for the email list if you want. I send out emails, but I don't really do it that often. You can get there from the website, or you can find an email address on the website and write to me if anybody wants to reach me. I guess I'll put my email address in the chat in case anybody wants that. I think this went pretty well for our first one. Oh, Steve just put in a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. it's hard for me to read the chat at the same time as I'm watching and talking with people. You guys are better at that than I am. But Linus, you want to tell us how grad school is going?
Sure, I can say. Sorry, I was trying to grab breakfast before heading out. I mean, before I say anything, I would want to say like a very big congratulations to, I mean, the team that put this together. It's like really amazing set of stories. And as someone who is like in the grad school, I mean, I've shared with my classmates, and I think they would really love all of what you've done. And I mean, looking at where you are now and how much talent you've got, I think I'm really excited about the future and what you will produce. And I wanted to say you should know that your work has been read and appreciated. YGI is such a big platform, and it's a very huge part of my life. I always say that everywhere. I mean, it made me who I am today. I mean, it started like a joke. Just putting out stories and doing all I could, but I realized how it was super easy to get a job right after school, and how people never asked me for my certificate, for my bachelor's degree certificate. It was just, can you show us links of what you've done? And there was just like a ton of stuff up there on the YGI website. And that was like more than enough to open up a lot of doors for me. I'm currently at the UC Berkeley Graduate School of Journalism, and it's really intense because before I got here for like 5 years, I used to work as a text reporter, and I wanted to like kind of switch to documentary and video. And yeah, it's super intense. I have classes Monday to Friday and have to produce one film every week. And it's like an amazing place to be with like a bunch of really amazing, talented people like all of you here. And super excited. I mean, I've read a bunch of the stories, and also to sit here for like an hour to listen to all of you. It's amazing. And I think, Jackie, for all the students in Turkey, I've been to Istanbul twice this year, and I think I'll head there again in the summer. Hopefully I'll get to like maybe have coffee with some of them when I'm there next time. But that's my favorite city in the world. And then like one city I would always return to always. I was there like, I think 2 weeks ago, spent like 2 weeks there in December. And yeah, it's like my favorite city in the world, and super nice people. And hopefully when I head back to Istanbul again, Jackie can connect us all, and then we can have coffee and chat. Thank you.
Arush, do you want to talk about for a minute?
Yeah, sure. I just hopped on. I just came. It's almost midnight where I am in Pakistan, and I just came back from my best friend's wedding right now, and I was exhausted, but I remembered that this was happening, and I am so glad I joined, even though it was late. But I read those stories, and I just wanted to say that I am so proud of everyone who worked on those stories, and those stories are so close to my heart, because that's something that happens in every country, and it's so important to talk about these things. And when you guys write these stories, it just means so much to people who have gone through that, and their friends and family and everyone who knows how much pain there is in that. And when you talk about these things, and at first I was thinking that I should say, like, keep raising your voice about this and everything, but with everything that you've said, it's inspired me, and it's given me so much hope, and I'm just so glad that you guys are doing such amazing work. And I just really wanted to meet everyone who's writing the articles with Youth Journalism International these days, and I'm so glad I got to meet you all.